Today we will discuss about the important questions of chapter Motion in a Straight Line. Now question 1. If in case of motion displacement is directly proportional to the square of the time, what do you think about its acceleration? Whether the acceleration is constant or variable, explain. This is the question. What is given in the question? X is directly proportional to square of time. So remove the proportionality sign with the constant. X is equal to c into t square, where c is a constant. You have to find the acceleration. I have told you, if displacement is given, the first derivative, that is the differentiation of x with respect to time, gives us velocity, and the differentiation of velocity with respect to time gives us acceleration. So first of all we will differentiate x. Here v is equal to dx by dt. Put the value of x is equal to c into t square. Then c is a constant, take it outside, and differentiation of t square is 2t. So you have velocity is equal to c into 2t. Now again differentiate v with respect to time. Now you have to differentiate c into 2t. Here c and 2 are constant, and put the value of v. 2c take outside, and differentiation of t is 1, because dt by dt is 1. So acceleration comes out to be 2c. Here there is no variable, that is t. It is eliminated. Hence we can say the acceleration is constant. Hence our answer is the acceleration of a moving object is constant, that is the uniform acceleration. Whether the time passes, the acceleration of the object is 2c. Now the next question. This question 2 is related with the integration. Statement is, the acceleration experienced by a boat after the engine is cut off is given by dv by dt. Acceleration is first derivative of velocity, that is dv by dt is equal to minus k into v cube, where k is a constant and v naught is the magnitude of the velocity at cutoff. It means at the initial point the velocity is v naught when the engine is cut off at that time. That is considered as initial velocity. Find the magnitude of the final velocity at time t after cutoff. When the engine is cut off, the boat will stop after a certain time t, and then its velocity becomes v. Now we consider that v naught is the initial velocity, v is the final velocity. When the engine is cut off, then time is considered to be as 0, and when it will stop, the time is t. So now we solve the question. First of all, write what is given to you. dv by dt is equal to minus k into v cube. Students, rearrange this. Why? Because on the left hand side there is velocity, and on the right hand side there is also velocity. For the integration purpose, one variable should be on one side, either on the right hand side or on the left hand side. So rearrange this. By rearranging the velocity on left hand side and time on right hand side, we have the equation, that is in the first line, v minus v raised to power minus 3 into dv is equal to minus k into dt. Integrating both sides, we have decided the limits. Limit of velocity, the lower limit is initial value, upper limit is final value. So put the limits, that is v naught to v for velocity, and the limits 0 to t for time. You know students, what is the formula for integration? That is, when we solve the integration, first of all we add 1 to the power and we divide by the result of the power. What is the result? So first of all integrate v raised to power minus 3. When we add 1 to minus 3, we will get minus 2. So integration of v raised to power minus 3 is v raised to power minus 2 and divide by the power, that is minus 2. And integration of dt is t. Put the limits. First of all we put upper limit in place of v minus lower limit again in place of v. So upper limit is v and lower limit is v naught. Here we put the time limits also, that is upper limit minus lower limit, and we get the result. Minus half is common, that is minus half into 1 by v square minus 1 by v naught square, and for time that is minus k into t minus 0. We have to find v here, so we keep v on left hand side and take all the parameters on right hand side, and finally we get the result. V is equal to v naught divided by square root of 1 plus 2kt into v naught square. Now question 3. State in the following cases whether the motion is 1, 2 or 3 dimensional. So first question is a kite flying on a windy day. What should be the nature of the motion? The kite, when the kite is flying in the sky, what is happening there? The kite is moving in all possible direction, and it is considered to be as a motion in space. It may move along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Hence it is considered to be as a three-dimensional motion. The second part is a speeding car on a long straight highway. When a car is moving on a straight highway, it is moving only in one direction, and hence it is considered to be as one-dimensional motion. The third question is a carom coin rebounding from the side of the board. When the coin is moving on the carom, its motion is confined only in the area of the carom, and that is only one plane. When any object is moving in one plane, then it may have two axes, that is x-axis and y-axis. Hence in case 3 there is the two-dimensional motion for the carom coin rebounding from the side of the board. The fourth one is an insect crawling on a globe. When the insect is crawling on a globe, its motion is considered to be as a motion along the circle, and the circle is having two axes again. That's why its motion is considered to be as two-dimensional motion. The fifth one is a plane revolving around its star. When any planet is moving along the star, its path is considered to be as elliptical path, and it has two axes, one as the major axis and another as the minor axis. So its motion is considered to be in a plane. Hence the planet revolving around its star is considered to be as two-dimensional motion. You can study many more examples like this, and this question is very important according to the examination point of view. Next question is question 4. Can the speed of a body be negative? You know students, the speed is a scalar quantity. The scalar quantity can never be negative and 0. So the speed can never be negative. And one more thing, the speed is the distance traveled by the object in a given time, and again the distance can never be negative because if the distance is traveled once, it can never decrease. Hence the speed can never be negative. The question 5 is, can a body have a constant speed but still have a variable velocity? Is it possible? Yes, this is possible in uniform circular motion. You have studied uniform circular motion in detail and what we consider there. For the motion along a circular path, the speed must be constant. But at every point of a circle, the direction is changing, and the velocity is speed plus direction. So this is the case when the speed is constant and velocity is variable. You can write it as the case of uniform circular motion. Question number 6 is, can a body have a constant velocity and still have variable speed? Is it possible? No, because the velocity is having speed plus direction, but speed is not having any direction. Speed is a scalar quantity also, hence it is not possible that velocity is constant and speed is variable. No example and no case is there for this. Question number 7 is, can a particle in one-dimensional motion have zero speed and non-zero velocity? Guess. The answer is no, because whether the speed is non-zero or zero, the velocity is having the speed in itself. If speed is zero, then velocity can never be non-zero. You know, velocity is equal to speed with direction. Hence the answer is no. Question 8 is, why does a person sitting in one train think that the other train is at rest when both the trains are moving on parallel tracks with the same speed and in the same direction? So dear students, this question is directly related with the relative velocity, and I have told you the rest and motion are relative to each other. If two objects are moving and they are moving with same speed parallel to each other, then with respect to each other they appears to be at rest. For example, if you two people are sitting in a moving bus, you are sitting side by side, then what you are observing, that you two are at rest, but you two are at rest with respect to each other, but you two are in motion with respect to trees and the outside world. So let us understand this question with the help of example, that the velocity of first train is 40 km per hour due east, and velocity of second train is also 40 km per hour due east. Both are moving parallel to each other, and two persons are sitting in the window of in these two different trains, and they can see each other for a longer time. So for them, relative to each other, they appears to be at rest. Question number 9. Which of the two, velocity or acceleration, gives the direction of motion of the body? Justify your answer by an example. The question is asking that if you want to state the direction of any object, so which quantity is explaining it in a very well manner, velocity or acceleration? For this, we consider the example when we are throwing the ball in upward direction. What happens? The object is moving in upward direction, the velocity is in upward direction, but the acceleration is in opposite direction. So with the help of this example, you can say that velocity is the important parameter to explain the direction of motion of the object. The acceleration is not so much important, but when the vehicle is moving on road, then velocity, acceleration and motion of the object are in same direction. But this is the exception case, and we also consider the exception in physics. So our answer is, the velocity is the most important parameter, not the acceleration, and you will write the example of upward motion. Next, the question number 10. Two straight lines drawn on the same displacement time graph makes an angle of 30 degree and 60 degree with the time axis respectively, which is shown in the given figure. Which line represent greater velocity and what is the ratio of these two velocities? So you have to find two things, which is having greater velocity, which is moving with greater velocity, and what is the ratio of their velocities. So I have told you to find this term. So first of all, from the time axis, draw the perpendicular on these two lines A and B. When you will draw the perpendicular, at the same time you will observe that the A will trace out less displacement in the same time as compared to the B curve is having more displacement in the same time. So you can calculate the velocity. So from the graph it is clear that the velocity is more for the line B and is less for the line A. So in the next slide, let us compare it or find it mathematically in terms of slope or in terms of angle. Now mathematically we solve this question. You know, the slope of displacement time graph gives us velocity, and what is slope? Slope is the tangent of the angle, and tangent 0 is 0 and tangent 90 is infinity. It means when we are increasing the angle, the value of tangent theta is also increasing. So from the figure you have seen in the previous slide that angles are 30 degree and 60 degree. So OB is having 60 degree, so tangent 60 is more than tangent 30. Hence you can say the slope of line OB is more than the slope of line OA. Hence the line making angle 60 degree with the time axis represent greater velocity. This is the mathematical proof. And ratio of their velocities VA divided by VB is equal to the ratio of their slopes. So slope of line OB is tangent 30 and slope of line OB is tangent 60. So putting the value of tangent 30 and 60, we have the result VA is to VB is equal to 1:3. Hence this is the ratio of the speed of these two lines. Next question is, what do the following velocity time graphs represent? Explain the nature of motion of the body in each case. I have discussed all the graphs, so you will write their answer by yourself. And the last one is, you explain this graph section wise. First of all, explain AB, then BC, CD, DE and EF. This DEF is representing you the curved part for the square. So solve it by yourself, and by these numericals this part motion in one dimension is completed. Now we will start with the next chapter, vectors, motion in two dimensions.